Across British Columbia, there are exactly 5,849 completed, brand-new apartments sitting completely empty. This inventory of unabsorbed units represents a significant supply overhang concentrated in the province's highest-density residential hubs. These newly constructed towers stand vacant, overlooking a middle class effectively priced out of the modern strata market. In June 2026, the government introduced a $1.45 billion federal-provincial partnership. The objective is to utilize public funds to acquire 2,200 of these specific vacant units. The official mandate is to convert these private luxury builds into affordable rent-to-own homes. The program targets working households who possess the income to cover market rents but lack the liquid capital for a conventional down payment. While presented as a solution for first-time buyers, the program's immediate mechanical function is to absorb thousands of units from the private market, providing a state-backed floor for current real estate valuations. The financial architecture of the acquisition relies on a highly leveraged framework. Ottawa and Victoria are providing $300 million in direct cash, establishing a 20% equity base for the purchases. The remaining $1.15 billion, roughly 80% of the total budget, is funded through debt financing borrowed at senior government rates. Officials maintain that because the underlying mortgages are held as provincial assets, there is no ultimate cost to the public. However, this structure effectively moves the financial risk of unsold private inventory directly onto the government's balance sheet. To understand the viability of this plan, we have to look at the government's official projected cost per unit. Dividing the $1.45 billion budget by the 2,200 target units results in an expected average acquisition cost of approximately $659,000 per property. But independent market analyses from firms like Burnaby House suggest a different reality for retail strata units in Metro Vancouver. This comparison shows the gap between the government's assumptions and independent estimates. If the real market cost is over $1.13 million per unit, acquiring those same 2,200 properties would actually require a budget of $2.5 billion. This valuation delta suggests the program is structurally underfunded relative to the current retail prices of the assets it aims to acquire. Purchasing these units at or near market prices to offer them at subsidized rates creates a condition known as a massively negative carry. As this visualization shows, the incoming rental payments from affordable housing units do not generate enough cash flow to cover the interest obligations on the $1.15 billion debt. Without a balanced cash flow, the government will be required to fund this deficit continuously, using tax revenue to bridge the gap between the debt servicing costs and the affordable rents. The program is strictly limited by geography. The city of Vancouver is excluded because property values there are too high to be converted into affordable entry-level units without extreme subsidies. By focusing on the surrounding suburban regions, the purchase of 2,200 units effectively removes over 50% of Metro Vancouver's total unabsorbed condo inventory from the private market in a single transaction. This intervention occurs alongside documented ties between prominent condo marketers and the government officials who designed the partnership. By clearing a massive portion of the unsold inventory, the state prevents a natural market correction, allowing developers to maintain price levels that would otherwise have to fall to attract organic buyers. There is one scenario where this program can operate without permanent public subsidies. The state must act as a ruthless vulture fund. Instead of paying retail rates, the government would use a reverse auction, forcing distressed developers in foreclosure to sell their inventory at steep 50% discounts. Professor Sir Somerville's break-even analysis demonstrates this shift. If the government acquires a $900,000 asset for just $450,000, the financial requirements change. At this deeply discounted price, the property only needs to appreciate 1.33% annually to cover government borrowing costs. The outcome of the program depends on whether the state chooses to act as a liquidator of distressed assets for the taxpayer or a safety net for private developers. With final guidelines not expected until the fall of 2026, the real estate market remains in a state of state-subsidized uncertainty. For individuals, this highlights the importance of maximizing liquid, tax-sheltered accounts like the FHSA and TFSA to keep capital independent of these leveraged real estate experiments. The Bank of Canada is currently managing separate monetary shifts that extend beyond the housing sector. As the state uses public debt to stabilize specific asset classes, investors are increasingly focused on building their own liquid capital to maintain financial flexibility outside of these government-backed structures.